Basically, a VBA macro or a VBA program is the same term for a subroutine or a procedure. So sub keyword is used to start the macro program, and this keyword is then followed by the name of the macro. In the parenthesis, which you can see over here, just after the macro name. So usually these are kept blank, but a list of parameters can be supplied. And if there are no parameters, then anyways they are left blank. This particular parenthesis, then we've got the statements over here, whatever we want to write. So initially in the first recorded macro, we just selected one cell. So it was range d4 dot select. That's about it. When we were opening the two files, so we had more syntaxes where we were using workbook.open and etc. Then once you've written your program, you end your program with end sub. So let's look at the first program which we had recorded. So as I had said, starts with sub, macro name followed by parenthesis, my statements over here, and ends up to end the program. You can comment any statement by just using an apostrophe. So once it shows this green color, it means that it has been commented out. It will not be executed by VBA. Now let's go back to the Excel file. I'll close this events in user form. And let me see if the third file is also open. No. Okay. So this is the only file which is open now. So I'll go to the developer tab. Now we discussed the Visual Basic, that it opens a Visual Basic editor. And we've also discussed record macro. But if I want to have a look at all the macros which are there in the workbook, I'll click on macros. And this gives me a list of all the macros which are there. So it is telling me that I've got first macro, macro 2, macro 3. Then I've got these different macros which are there in sheet 1 code module. You can run a macro from here. You can even edit or delete them. Let's click on cancel. Macro security. When you click on macro security, this trust center will pop up. So usually it is disable all macros with notification. Most of the times this is the case, and whenever you open an Excel file, Excel will always prompt you that do you want to enable macros or not. If you think that the file is from a trusted source, then please enable it, else do not enable it. It may have virus. Now let me go back to the deck. Now VBA is an object-oriented language. If you think of it, everything is considered as an object. So a workbook, a worksheet, cells, ranges, charts, pivots, they all are considered objects. And all of these objects have properties and methods. Now whenever you use these objects, you need to do so in an orderly manner. So if there is no workbook, then a worksheet cannot exist. Similarly, if there is no worksheet, a pivot table or a graph cannot exist. Initially, you'll have a workbook, then you'll have a worksheet, and this worksheet will consist of ranges or pivots or charts. And this particular hierarchy is called an object model. Let's go to Visual Basic. Comment this, comment this, comment this, but copy this. So over here, we've got application, which is the Excel file itself, then the workbook, which is this particular workbook VBA file.xlsm. This is then followed by worksheets. This is followed by the sheet name over here. This is then followed by range or the cell location A4, and this is giving the value. So all we are saying is that in workbook VBA file.xlsm, we've got a sheet 1, and on sheet 1 for cell A4, we want to assign it a value of 5. So this is an object model where we are following a particular hierarchy. If I have a worksheet before workbook, that will not work and that will just give an error. Let's go back to the deck. Now all objects have properties, and a property can be thought of as a setting or an attribute. For example, for chart, which is itself an object, it has properties like chart title, chart type, legend. Similarly, range has properties like value, count. So over here, value property, using this property, we can set a value of a particular cell, which we did in the previous example, or we can read the value from a particular cell to a new variable. So for example, over here, what I'm doing is I'm assigning a value to variable new one, and that value will be the one which is in cell A1. Similarly, count property is there, so you can count the number of cells which are in the range A1 to A10, or you can count the number of rows over here, or the number of columns over here. Now, just like all objects have properties, they have methods as well. A method is an action that is performed using an object. If I take a weird example, so think of a car wiper. One of the actions is that it wipes the water off the windscreen. So that is a method. So for range, we've got methods like clear contents, delete. For charts, we've got methods like activate, select, before double click, etc. Now let me go back to the Excel file. So this is one of the examples where we are assigning a value of 5 to cell A4. So not only values, we can also assign formulas also. So let's take an example. Suppose I've got 1 and 2 over here. And for cell A4, I want the sum which is there in A1 and A2. If I run this, I've got value 3. And as you can see, now cell A4 consists of formula also. Let's go back to our deck. Now let's discuss declaring a variable. In one of the examples where I was dynamically passing the values of rows, I'd used a statement dim. Let's just look at it. So what I'm doing is I'm declaring my variables over here, last filled row as long, last filled row 1 as long, and then new row as an integer. Now the rules around declaring a variable name is that the length should not exceed 40 characters, there shouldn't be any space between them, and there shouldn't be any special character used as well. Now the question you may be asking is, why is it important to declare a variable? It's considered good programming technique. It removes chances of unexpected results as we are letting VBA know what a variable type is, and it makes code more readable for other users as well. These are some of the different types of data types we have. So we've got integer for small numbers, we've got long for big numbers. So for population, I might have long, or I might even have a double. So with this done now, I'll close this session, and in the next one, we'll discuss conditional constructs and looping constructs. Thank you.